Yes, I'm Peter Dubois.
And I'm Beth Jones. First tonight, a potential security threat at Bangor International Airport this morning prompted the Bangor bomb squad to respond to the international terminal there.
A bomb-sniffing dog, along with members of the Bangor police and fire departments, as well as the airport's own police and fire personnel, responded to the scene around 9 a.m. That's when the airport's safety procedures were implemented. According to BIA's Marketing and Business Development Director, Amy Thibodeau, the incident did not cause the airport to go into any kind of lockdown, and it did not affect any flights.
There has been no imminent threat to the public that we are aware of. We have followed all of our safety procedures and protocols. We did move a couple of aircraft around on gates just to make it a little bit easier on that side and to make things go a little more smoothly. But all flights have gone out, flights have come in, and so nothing operationally has been impacted.
Authorities say the bomb squad spent time investigating certain luggage at the airport, which the Bangor Police Department later discovered was neither suspicious nor illegal.
Well, investigators from the Maine Drug Enforcement Agency arrested a man suspected of drug trafficking in Ellsworth. MDEA, with the help of Ellsworth police, conducted surveillance on the Hawthorne Extended Stay Hotel after complaints of suspected drug trafficking from a room there. Agents executed a search warrant on Monday and seized 180 grams of crack cocaine, 16 grams of fentanyl, along with other drugs, and almost $600 in suspected drug proceeds. As a result, 40-year-old Asa Polk of Boston, Massachusetts, was arrested and charged with 2 counts of aggravated trafficking in scheduled drugs and unlawful possession of scheduled drugs. Polk is scheduled to be arraigned in Hancock County Court on Wednesday.
A Caribou man will spend more than 13 years behind bars for his role in Penobscot and Aroostook County drug trafficking. 54-year-old James King was sentenced in U.S. District Court in Bangor for his role in a conspiracy to distribute meth and fentanyl. King pleaded guilty in September. He's the 10th participant involved in the Northern Maine conspiracy to be sentenced. 7 of the remaining 11 defendants have pleaded guilty.
In other news, firefighters called for a third alarm as flames ripped through a historic barn in Millinocket this morning. Our Grace Blanchard was on scene and has details.
Crews raced to the Kelly farm on the Station Road in Millinocket just before 8 a.m. Tuesday after receiving reports of flames shooting from the barn.
Arrived on scene, we ended up finding the barn fully involved, beginning to get into the house. Automatically requested a third alarm, brought us in resources as far away as Brownville, Sherman, Maine Forest Service.
The fire rapidly spread to the home and caused substantial damage to the rear. However, crews were able to keep the fire from destroying the rest of the home, and the homeowners made it out safely.
It was just starting, actually. And yeah, all the black smoke, I was like, holy crud, what is that? And yeah, it was bad.
Several witnesses and neighbors say the Kelly farm is one of the oldest in Millinocket. For decades, the homeowners have bred and raised racehorses, 2 of which they were unable to save from the fire.
They help everybody. Yeah, it's a shame. Hopefully everybody comes together and helps them now, you know? That's what I hope.
The cause of the fire remains unknown. In Millinocket, I'm Grace Blanchard for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
A proposed red flag bill faced a second public hearing today. According to the Judiciary Committee, there was a second hearing on the bill because of Thursday's snowstorm, which prevented some people from testifying on Friday. One difference between the proposed law and Maine's current yellow flag law is that police or family members would not need to get a person evaluated by a mental health professional before obtaining a court order to take away someone's firearms. Opponents of the bill say it's unconstitutional, but supporters disagree.
I believe that it violates my inherent God-given rights. I don't believe that our legislative body has the authority under the Constitution to enact a red flag law.
There are 21 states across the United States where the extreme risk protection order is already in place. In all of those states, those laws have been upheld as being constitutional and not being in conflict with due process.
After the public hearing, the committee held a work session on the bill. That session was expected to end in a vote.
Well, in Augusta today, Republicans blasted last-minute changes proposed to the supplemental budget. Our Augusta reporter Corey Bouchard helps break down some of those potential changes.
And the worst part is they didn't even do it in daylight. They did it in the middle of the night.
House Republican leader Billy Bob Fonkingham is calling for Representative Melanie Sachs to be removed from the Appropriations and Financial Affairs Committee after Republicans are accusing Democrats of literally passing a budget under the cover of darkness when the committee met late Friday night and into early Saturday morning.
It was 11:30 or so. We went into the committee room. Just before that, we got not one, not two, we got 6 new amendments to this budget document, including the transportation, including the liquor fund, including the pension fund.
Those proposed changes would combine the general fund and highway fund budgets, use money previously allocated to the highway fund to fund new initiatives, reduce Maine state pension deductions, provide around $14 million to the Emergency Housing Relief Fund, and cut the increase to the Dairy Stabilization Fund from 25% to only 10%, which farmers say is not sustainable.
The negotiated 25% that we have the governor's support for was already taking a 75% hit. So the additional drop to 10% is a 90% drop for our numbers. And this program is so important because it supports our rural communities, it supports our dairy farms.
Representative Wayne Perry sits on the Transportation Committee and says combining the Highway Fund, which the Transportation Committee has jurisdiction over, with the General Fund could mean a lack of funding for Maine's already crumbling roadway infrastructure.
My fear is if this was to ever happen, you would not see any road work done, you would not see anything done that we handle right now.
Speaker of the House Rachel Talbot Ross issued the following response to Representative Fonkingham, quote, "I would remind you that this committee always has an enormous workload. It is not an uncommon practice to work long and exhaustive hours. Please refrain from impugning the character of any member of the Appropriations and Financial Affairs Committee or the House of Representatives," end quote. Links to the new proposed budget and the letters from Representative Fonkingham and Speaker Talbot Ross will be available on our website. At the State House, I'm Corey Bouchard for ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
The state of Maine has extended the deadline for filing state taxes if you live in counties impacted by those January storms. Those recognized counties include Cumberland, Hancock, Knox, Lincoln, Saginaw, Waldo, Washington, and York counties. Anyone who lives in those areas now has until July 15th to file their state taxes. Payment deadlines have also been extended through July 15th. That's the same date as the federal government extension. So some relief on the way for those most hard hit by those storms.
Yeah, and you're hoping that they're getting the other relief that they so desperately need.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, folks, well, let's go ahead and hit pause here, peek outside and see what is coming our way weather-wise with the first check of the forecast.
Thank you so much, and still feel like winter north of town, though. Not quite here in town. You got to go pretty much Greenville, Millinocket area. That's where you're still sitting at a little bit of snow on the ground. But, of course, it's April. We're going to be melting that away, especially with these temperatures. Check this out. Almost at 60 earlier today in town. Rockland into Bar Harbor, Machias, a bit cooler back in those low to mid-50s. Same story up north, Greenville, Millinocket, Dover, Foxcroft. Same thing, back in those low to mid-50s. In general, though, we saw lots of sunshine out there. Not quite as much as yesterday with temperatures in the 60s, but another good-looking day out there. This is ahead of more rain starting tomorrow. Overnight, though, we're going to continue to cool off. Temperatures will be hovering in those lower 30s.
Alrighty, Conrad, thank you so much. And still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, a construction project in Searsport causing some headaches for locals. We'll explain.
And the Dedham School Bike Club gets new funding that will help them venture to new trails. Those stories and more when we come right back.
With features you won't find on CR-V, RAV4, or Forester, only a Tucson compares to a Tucson. Lease an all-wheel drive Tucson for $229 a month, or get 3.79% APR, or up to $1,250 bonus cash. See your Bangor Hyundai dealer today.
Fires, floods, burst pipes. Disasters happen, but the mess they leave behind doesn't have to last. For 40 years, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration has been there to help Mainers get back to the closest to normal as they can. When your property is at its worst, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration is at their best, and they have been for 4 decades. Put your trust in the Bouchard team. Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration. You keep the memories, we'll handle the rest.
It was one thing when my mom got Alzheimer's, but then we started noticing things that seemed off. She developed agitation that may happen with dementia due to Alzheimer's disease. Sometimes she'd fidget with her fingers, get suddenly overwhelmed, and even throw things. And that was just never her. So we asked her doctor what else we could do.
Rexulti is the only FDA-approved medication proven to reduce agitation symptoms that may happen with dementia due to Alzheimer's disease. Rexulti can cause serious side effects. Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke, report fever, stiff muscles, and confusion, which can be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death, weight gain, increased cholesterol, low white blood cells, unusual urges, dizziness on standing, falls, seizures, trouble swallowing, or sleepiness may occur.
Rexulti helped reduce my mom's symptoms.
Take action for your loved one. Ask their doctor about Rexulti.
We turned it up to 11.
It's nonstop Masked Mania. All new Masked Singer, Wednesdays on Fox.
With features you won't find on CRV, RAV4, or Forester. Only a Tucson compares to a Tucson. Lease an all-wheel drive Tucson for $229 a month, or get 3.79% APR, or up to $1,250 bonus cash. See your Bangor Hyundai dealer today.
Hi there, I'm Emma Smith, and coming up on Good Morning Maine, all the latest on an early morning shooting in Bangor on Tuesday that sent one person to the hospital. Plus, we'll be seeing some new high-speed electric vehicle charging stations in the area, and all the latest on that nor'easter that's scheduled to hit us on Thursday. These stories and much more coming up on Good Morning Maine.
Welcome back. A road construction project in Searsport is causing some headaches for drivers and businesses. And while the full project is expected to be finished in 2025, the half-mile section currently in repair will remain under construction until November. Our Doug Banks takes us there.
It needed it, for sure.
Maine DOT's downtown Searsport Route 1 reconstruction is a multi-step project looking to improve commuter and pedestrian travel inside a 2-mile section of Searsport. On March 1st, Maine DOT and Gordon Contracting began work on a half-mile section of Searsport, turning Route 1 into a one-way, and detours taking traffic up and over downtown until November 15th. Traveling north to south, the detour navigates Route 1 travelers up Mortland Road, across Old County Road, and down Prospect Street, turning quiet streets into noisy ones, according to one resident.
In the evening after school hours, they get really crazy with speed.
While the south lane of Route 1 remains occupied with construction vehicles and equipment, one resident is looking further down the road.
People want the road good. You know, they gotta fix it, and that's the only way they can do it.
Businesses are still accessible, however, with parking spaces available at certain locations.
It has definitely slowed down, but the local people have been rallying around us.
Now, despite all the noise from construction and this chain link fence guarding the downtown sidewalk, one local business is making the most of it.
We have our construction crunch Sunday, which we will be having all through construction period. They need to get this construction done, and Gordon Construction's been great through it, so it might be a bit going through some hard times now, but it will definitely be worth it in the end.
In Searsport, Doug Banks, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
The Dedham School bike team just got a big equipment upgrade thanks to new grant funding. Bike coach Tim Pearson says the team was formed a few years ago, but they've been limited by their ability to ride bikes on trails that are off school grounds. In order to do so, Pearson would have to load as many bicycles as he could fit into the back of his pickup truck if they wanted to ride off-site. The new funding will allow the team to purchase a trailer to load all their bikes into for future trips.
The ease of getting the bikes with us on trips in a trailer is going to allow us to do more with more kids and more opportunities.
The grant was given by Outride, a California-based organization that provides funding and programs to promote cycling.
Well, Eastern Maine Community College and the University of Maine have signed an agreement that will benefit culinary arts students. Officials from both schools say the agreement creates a seamless pathway for students at the community college to earn their associate's degree in 2 years and then go on to finish their bachelor's degree.
It takes the guesswork out of it for students. So it's really part of what we do all the time is to help students achieve their bachelor's degree. But this combination is going to make it easier for students.
Well, officials with both schools say the agreement will save students time and money by streamlining relevant coursework while making enrollment faster and more convenient as well.
And from a student's perspective, we've both been there.
Sure.
Any area where you can save money, but also help streamline things is well accepted.
Well, you do one and the other naturally happens. So if you can streamline your coursework, pay for fewer credits, that's definitely going to save you money.
It definitely will.
All right. Well, coming up on the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22, we'll have the latest on Israel's war on Hamas as calls for a ceasefire continue.
And the parents of a school shooter in Michigan are sentenced in court for their role in that tragedy. Those stories and more when we come back.
Our biggest challenge? Uncertainty. Hidden fees, surcharges, who knows what to expect.
Turn shipping to your advantage.
Keep it simple with clear upfront pricing.
With USPS Ground Advantage.
Hello, Ghostbusters! It's Doug. We help people customize and save hundreds on car insurance with Liberty Mutual. We got a bit of a situation. Sure, I can hold.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
In theaters now.
Orono is more than just a college town. It's an affordable destination. Welcome to the Orono Arcade, where we have both modern and retro games. And for a new experience, check out our 9-hole blacklight mini golf course. Budget-friendly, fun for the whole family, with 13 restaurants within walking distance. We look forward to seeing you soon at the Orono Arcade.
Great Scott! This is Green Bear 420 in 2010. What kind of trip is this? I gotta get back to 2023. Wait, it's 2015. So much has changed. In 2023, we had a lot more glass, t-shirts, and novelties. It's gonna take a bolt of lightning to get me home. Finally, home at last. Now Green Bear 420, Green Bear Green Care is bigger and better than ever. To be continued.
Transform your surroundings with Paramount Paving, located in Bangor. They are your paving and seal coating experts. Whether it's residential maintenance to full commercial projects, Paramount Paving delivers quality that lasts. Book before June 1st and enjoy a $250 Visa gift card upon completion of your next paving project. Call us today at 602-8931 or visit us at ParamountPavingLLC.com. Paramount Paving, setting the standard for excellence. When it comes to paving, we are Paramount.
Animal Control has arrived.
Sir, you can't park that here. We're with the city, Fashion Police. We got a call regarding your pants.
With a herd of special guests, including horses, chickens, and
Lady Monkeyton.
plus felines and canines.
Pause where I can see him.
And this little guy.
I need you to take a step back. I can feel your breath on my nipples.
And if you've missed any episodes, watch them now on Hulu.
Hi. Yeah, you can come on over.
All new episodes of Animal Control, Wednesdays on Fox, next day Hulu.
There's one number you need to know. It's called Joe.
Arizona's Supreme Court has ruled to uphold a long-dormant law criminalizing nearly all abortions. Fox's Marianne Rafferty has the story.
It is a dark day in Arizona.
Arizona's Supreme Court ruled to revive a 19th century law criminalizing all abortions, except when a mother's life is at stake. The 1864 law, which predates Arizona's statehood, offers no exceptions for rape or incest. Instead, it further restricts reproductive rights in the state, where terminating a pregnancy is already banned at 15 weeks.
Arizona's 2022 abortion ban is extreme, and the near total Civil War era ban that continues to hang over our heads only serves to create more chaos for women and doctors in our state.
Critics say the law also opens the door for the prosecution of doctors who perform the procedure. In their 4-2 decision, justices who are all Republican wrote, "Physicians are now on notice that all abortions, except those necessary to save a woman's life, are illegal."
I refuse to allow Arizona to become a state where doctors are going to be afraid to practice, to just do their jobs.
As expected, Democrats and the White House are blasting the ruling, blaming former President Trump for the overturning of Roe v. Wade 2 years ago. President Biden writing in a statement, quote, "This ruling is a result of the extreme agenda of Republican elected officials who are committed to ripping away women's freedom. And while some Republicans support it, others disapprove, but ultimately say it's up to Arizonans to fix the issue."
It was an asinine ruling, and I hope that Arizonans will fix it. But right now, the law of the land is that Arizona has to fix it themselves.
The ruling comes just days after former President Trump declined to endorse a national abortion ban and said the issue should be left up to the states. In Los Angeles, Marianne Rafferty, Fox News.
Meanwhile, the parents of a Michigan teenager who killed 4 people in a school shooting have been sentenced to 10 to 15 years in prison. It is the first time parents have been held criminally responsible for such an act. Fox's Garrett Tenney has details from Chicago.
Because you decided that you didn't want to parent and listen to your son, you took the right away for me to be a mother.
They chose to stay quiet. They chose to ignore the warning signs.
An emotional day in court for the families of the 4 teenagers who lost their lives in the shooting at Michigan's Oxford High School more than 2 years ago. Those parents echoing prosecutors' arguments that James and Jennifer Crumbly ignored warning signs that their son's mental health was spiraling in the days leading up to the shooting. And instead of getting him help, they bought him a gun, which they failed to secure. And 4 days later, he used it to kill 4 of his classmates and injure 7 others.
These convictions confirm repeated acts or lack of acts that could have halted an oncoming runaway train.
One example of the warning signs prosecutors say the parents ignored: 7 months before the shooting, Ethan Crumbly texted a friend about hearing voices saying, "I actually asked my dad to take me to the doctor yesterday, but he just gave me some pills and told me to suck it up." Like, it's at the point that I'm asking to go to the doctor. My mom laughed when I told her. 2 juries found the Crumblys guilty of involuntary manslaughter, and today a judge sentenced them to at least 10 years in prison for their gross negligence that allowed the shooting. But the parents maintain they had no idea what their son was planning.
We were good parents. We weren't perfect, but we loved our son. Your child can make a fatal decision, not just with the gun. This could happen to you too.
Some legal experts suggest convicting the parents of a mass shooter creates a dangerous legal precedent. Today, attorneys for both James and Jennifer Crumbly said they plan to appeal their convictions. Their son, Ethan, is currently serving a life sentence without parole. In Chicago, I'm Garrett Tenney, Fox News.
More aid is making its way to Gaza, but the UN says it's not enough. It comes as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu sets a date to invade Rafah is in place. He says that, rather. Fox's Trey Yingst has more.
6 months into the war in Gaza, negotiators in Cairo are still trying to reach another ceasefire deal. The Wall Street Journal reporting the U.S. presented a new proposal on Sunday that includes the release of 40 Israeli hostages in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners during a 6-week ceasefire. The plan calls for Hamas to compromise on which prisoners would be released from Israeli jails. So far, the militant group says the recent proposals do not meet their demands.
The difficulty has been over the number of Palestinians that they want released. They're picking the people who have the most serious charges against them and have been leaders of their organization.
It comes as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu renews his promise to invade Gaza's southernmost city of Rafah, announcing that a date for the offensive has been set. The Biden administration is once again urging Israel to hold off, warning the operation could endanger civilians seeking shelter in the city.
We think that there is a better way to achieve what is a legitimate goal, which is to degrade and dismantle and defeat the Hamas battalions that still remain in Rafah.
As the fighting continues, more aid is flowing into Gaza, following international pressure on Israel, though the UN argues the amount still does not meet humanitarian needs.
Half of the convoys that we were trying to send to the north with food were denied.
The IDF says 419 aid trucks entered Gaza on Monday, the largest single-day delivery since the war began. In Tel Aviv, Trey Yingst, Fox News.
And the families of those hostages being held in Gaza spoke out in Washington Tuesday. The international community has a deal on the table, but Hamas has yet to react. Fox's Kevin Cork has more.
Children are starving in Gaza.
A lively first day back for lawmakers on Capitol Hill Tuesday.
In Gaza.
As pro-Palestine protesters shut down a Senate cafeteria, leading to 50 arrests.
And the occupation and the war.
More funding for Israel and Ukraine are things Congress plans to tackle this session. Lawmakers have different concerns about writing checks for either country, but the delay could be more devastating for Ukraine as troops are running low on weapons and ammunition.
At some point, if we don't rearm them, then the coalition supporting them will fall apart.
House Speaker Mike Johnson has pledged to pass more aid for Ukraine, but doing so could cost him his speakership. One of his most vocal critics, Georgia's Marjorie Taylor Greene, is against more funding for Ukraine, and she already has a motion to oust Johnson ready to go.
He's not our Republican Speaker of the House. He's the Democrat Speaker of the House.
On the Senate side, lawmakers are preparing to receive articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas after the House voted to impeach him in February. It's up to the Senate to hold a trial, but Democrats are expected to dismiss the case quickly.
Impeachment should never be used to settle policy disagreements.
Wednesday, Secretary Mayorkas will go before House and Senate committees to testify on his budget request for 2025, but he'll have to take questions from some of the same lawmakers who voted to impeach him. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
And there is much more to come on Fox 22 News.
Stay with us.
This is going to be the toughest next level chef yet.
I want my mom.
Only the best will survive.
All new Next Level Chef, Thursdays at 8, 7 Central on Fox.
Why should your new floor come from Carpet One? Because we're passionate about the spaces our neighbors call home. We're part of your community, and we're also part of the world's largest cooperative of independently owned and operated flooring stores. So you can be sure you'll get great selection and outstanding value with every installation. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, tile, or luxury vinyl, our experts take the guesswork out of choosing the right floor. We're your local Carpet One Floor and Home, the one store for your perfect floor.
So, all of us are here to talk about trading. Right now at US Cellular, you can get a new phone without having to trade in your old one.
Trade you my PB&J for that phone.
No, kid, you don't have to trade. See? $830 off any phone at US Cellular. No trade-in needed.
You drive a hard bargain. Boom. Chocolate milk.
You don't have to trade.
I'll take the chocolate milk.
Okay.
Get $830 off any phone. No trade-in needed with any unlimited data plan.
Come stop by Triple S Tag Shop, 315 Hamden Road, Carmel, for quality clothing and equestrian gear.
Refine, your local expert in window and door installation, carpentry repairs, and commercial facilities management. At Refine, we're proud to offer Maine-made Paradigm windows crafted with care and precision to ensure quality and durability like no other. From quaint cottages to bustling businesses, let us refine your space with our signature Maine-made touch. Trust Refine to exceed your expectations every time. Contact us today and let Maine craftsmanship elevate your home or business. Rise with Refine.
I'll do it in 15. I want to play, so I'm going to say 12.
What? 25 words or less.
NYC.
Broadway.
Island.
Manhattan.
You know, Amber, you wanted to play, baby. You played.
Watch and win.
One word left.
Shopping.
Shopping cart.
Boom. Every weekday.
Did you see it, Amanda?
I'm impressed every time.
Weekdays at 9 on Fox 22.
The families of those hostages being held in Gaza spoke out in Washington today. The international community again with a deal on the table, but Hamas not reacting. Here is Fox's Kevin Cork from Washington.
Family members of American hostages met with Vice President Kamala Harris Tuesday, advocating for their release. The remaining hostages have been held by Hamas in Gaza for more than 6 months. Their loved ones pushing for action.
There are 133 cherished souls who are being held there, and it is time. We don't want any more progress. We want results.
Parents calling on Hamas to accept a hostage deal that's currently on the table.
It is completely in Hamas's court.
We are demanding from the international community, all the partners that are working on this deal, Qatar, Egypt, and others, to put maximum pressure to get Hamas to say yes.
That deal includes a 6-week pause in the fighting and the swap of dozens of hostages. International efforts to broker a hostage release deal are underway in Cairo this week.
There was a marathon session that went late into the night among the United States, Israel, Qatar, and Egypt.
Critics pointing out that the quickest way to a deal isn't turning on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. President Biden had a pointed phone call with him last week after 7 aid workers were killed in an airstrike in Gaza.
They're basically trying to make Netanyahu the boogeyman rather than focusing their ire on Hamas.
Since Biden's phone call with Mr. Netanyahu, more humanitarian assistance has flowed into Gaza, with another aid pier likely becoming operational at some point next week. In Washington, I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
House Republicans may engage in another speakership fight. One prominent GOP lawmaker is leading an effort to get rid of Mike Johnson over his cooperation with Democrats. Others in his party are urging him to stand up to the chaos. Fox's Chad Pergram reports.
Marjorie Taylor Greene firing off a letter to Republican colleagues accusing House Speaker Mike Johnson of working with Democrats. Greene has a red line for Johnson, but is coy.
What is the trigger? Is there something specific?
I'm not going to lay out a trigger. I will not be like Mike Johnson and lead us into chaos.
Greene says the GOP leadership, quote, has been a complete and total surrender.
Do not tell me that this is the way we have to govern in a divided government, because that is a lie. They are giving everything over to the Democrats, and we will win nothing.
Other Republicans have no appetite to endure more bedlam after last year's debacle with former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
I don't think what Marjorie is doing right now is helpful, and it's not helping us with our majority.
Members are exasperated at infighting over how Republicans run their own House.
I think right now what you're seeing is an inflection point for the institution.
I'm not comfortable with how this institution is structured.
Former Congressman Ken Buck resigned early 2 weeks ago. He's suspicious about the motives of his now former colleagues.
A lot of them are here because they got here by throwing bombs, and they're going to stay by throwing bombs.
Republican Mike Gallagher follows Buck out the door next week.
It's getting harder to get stuff done. I think you see a lot of members frustrated with that.
Richard Hudson leads the GOP's election arm. He says more Democrats are retiring than Republicans.
We don't have a single retirement in a competitive seat, whereas the Democrats have more retirements than we do, and 7 of their retirements are in seats that we're going to now pick up.
Some Republicans encourage Johnson to stare down the so-called Chaos Caucus and forge ahead on a bill to aid Israel and Ukraine. On Capitol Hill, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
Maryland's governor made the short trip down to Washington on Tuesday to meet with congressional lawmakers about the response to the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse. Fox's Mike Emanuel has more on how the federal government plans to be involved.
I just want to say on behalf of 6.3 million people that we appreciate it.
Maryland Governor Wes Moore thanking his state's congressional delegation and federal leaders for their support in the aftermath of the deadly Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse 2 weeks ago. The governor reiterated his commitment to bringing closure to the families of those who died and reopening the Port of Baltimore as quickly as possible.
We also know that the support from the federal government and the support of Congress is also going to be imperative in this. I'm committed to make sure that we navigate this through a bipartisan process.
Maryland's lone Republican in the state's delegation also vowing to not let politics get in the way of recovery efforts. So far, $68 million in federal funding has been allocated to assist in removing debris from the Patapsco River and reopen the shipping channel. President Biden promised the cleanup and reconstruction of the bridge will be completely funded by the federal government. But currently, there's no price tag, and some experts think the entire cost could top $1 billion.
This is a commitment that is normal for this type of a catastrophic loss of a major infrastructure in our country.
Tuesday, Governor Moore also signed the PORT Act into law. It provides economic relief to hard-hit workers and businesses and creates a scholarship fund for the children of the 6 construction workers who died. In Washington, Mike Emanuel, Fox News.
Meanwhile, the CDC is issuing a new health alert after recent bird flu outbreaks among cattle. It comes as officials say the risk to the public remains low. Fox's Steve Harrigan has more.
After reports of recent bird flu outbreaks among cattle herds, the CDC is asking states to be prepared to respond to future cases. The agency issuing a new health alert, asking public health officials for plans to test and treat farm workers potentially impacted by the virus. Though the agency cautions risk to the public remains low.
For most people, if you're not exposed to these animals, the risk is very, very low.
The virus has been circulating among wild birds and spreading to dairy cows in multiple states. Then last week, Texas authorities reported a farm worker tested positive after being exposed to an infected animal. The CDC says the spread is likely due to cattle moving across state lines, adding bird flu is not capable of spreading easily among humans. But officials remain on alert for any changes.
The fact that it is in cattle now is definitely raises our concern level, and we have some work to do to better understand that.
After documenting cases of bird flu in its chickens, the nation's largest producer of fresh eggs, Cal-Maine Foods, temporarily stopped production at a Texas plant last week. The Biden administration said it is monitoring for any supply chain issues.
When it comes to the public health of the American people, we take that very seriously and we'll continue to track this.
The CDC says bird flu symptoms include muscle aches, fever, and stomach pain. In Atlanta, Steve Harrigan, Fox News.
All right, and coming up, we have all of the answers in our full 5-day forecast.
That's right, stay tuned.
And finally, some warmer temperatures around 60 degrees yesterday. Same story, even warmer. I am tracking a cool down on the way and more rain. Lots of rain on the way. When? I'll have the timing and more coming up.
Your musical journey just got a brand new beat. Sticks, Picks, and Strings Music has relocated to a new home at 158 Main Road in Eddington. That's right, Maine's biggest little music store is still your ultimate destination for all things music. SPS Music, where the music continues.
You're in the driver's seat. You choose what road to take. But soon, you'll be taking a back seat to big government because President Biden just banned most new gas-powered cars. They've made it clear. It's their way or the highway, even if electric vehicles aren't right for you or your family. Call Senator King. Tell him to stop the car ban before it's too late. Don'tBanOurCars.com. Paid for by American Fuel and Petrochemical Manufacturers.
Mesothelioma is more than a ravaging illness. It is a disease that can ruin a family's finances and is never the victim's fault. The law offices of Joe Bornstein has been fighting and winning for Maine families for nearly 50 years, and we've collected over $500 million for injured Mainers. If you or a loved one is a victim of mesothelioma or asbestos-related lung cancer, call Joe today for a free case evaluation and to learn about your family's legal rights. Dial 207-CALL-JOE or online at joebornstein.com.
Did you know that it's possible to prevent colorectal cancer with regular screening?
I almost skipped my colonoscopy because I had something more important to do. But my friend said, you've got to go.
Today, you have options for colon cancer screening. Ask your provider which test is right for you.
I was lucky. They caught my cancer early enough to treat it successfully.
If you're 50 or older, ask your provider about colon cancer screening or visit screenmaine.org.
Your musical journey just got a brand new beat. Sticks, Picks, and Strings Music has relocated to a new home at 158 Main Road in Eddington. That's right, Maine's biggest little music store is still your ultimate destination for all things musical. SPS Music, where the music continues.
4 single farmers saddle up to find lifelong love.
We had a fire going, and that wasn't the only spark.
An all-new Farmer Wants a Wife, Thursdays on Fox.
And welcome back. Our Maine weather tonight is brought to you by Washington County Community College. Discover choices, create success. Do not miss out on free college. And folks, get ready. All this rain that will be headed our way like this right up the eastern seaboard within the next 24 hours. Get ready, folks. A little less than 24 hours, it will be arriving. So for now, though, we're looking at just a few passing clouds here and there. We saw an abundant amount of sunshine earlier today. Temperatures in the 50s, so it was another good-looking day earlier today. Same story yesterday for that total solar eclipse. Now, things are going to be changing. By tomorrow afternoon, we're going to see more clouds and more rain moving on in. A little bit more of a moderate rain closer to Greenville area by tomorrow evening, I would say. And then the rain will be continuing throughout the overnight hours. Same story on Friday, and then picking up in intensity Friday into Saturday as more heavier rain starts to make its way into our area. But wow, another big rainmaker on the way. We're talking 1 to 2 inches of rain, even more in some spots. Take a look right at the coast, stretching from Bar Harbor into Machias. Some of these models are indicating over 2 inches of liquid equivalent rain. I mean, I'm not surprised. There's a lot of moisture with that, and it's going to be raining from Wednesday afternoon into Thursday, Friday, and then same story into Saturday. So almost 3.5 to 4 days of rain. Of course, we're going to get over an inch of rain. Now, temperature-wise, though, we should be at 50 degrees this time of year. We were above average today. By Wednesday into Thursday, a bit below average, and then right back up to above average temperatures Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then once again into beginning of next week. Now, the winds for now, they're a bit on the breezy end in town. We're talking a 13-mile-per-hour sustained winds with wind gusts around 25 miles per hour. Right at the coast, though, not quite as windy. We're talking Rockland, Bar Harbor, only at around 5-10 miles per hour. Machias, you're pretty much at 0. Same story by Greenville. Winds are calm, pretty much non-existent. For tonight, though, that's going to be the case. Very light winds, clear skies in the area. Temperatures will be in those lower 30s, so a pretty calm looking night. Good start to the day tomorrow. Then we're going to see some increasing clouds. A couple of scattered showers will be moving on in. Temperature-wise, though, we're going to be slightly below average into those mid to upper 40s with a little bit more of a wind out of the southeast, this time around gusting around 25 miles an hour throughout the day on Wednesday. Our extended forecast outlook does show, once again, more chances of rain on Thursday, picking up in intensity by Friday, and those winds will be howling. We're talking wind gusts around 40 to 45 miles an hour throughout the day on Friday. Lighter winds, but still rain in the area on Saturday, and then finally we start to clear up by Sunday. Temperatures will be back in those mid-50s.
Alrighty, Conrad, thank you so much.
All right, we'll be back with sports coming up next.
Healing Hands Massage in Hamden provides professional massage services tailored specifically for our clients' needs. Healing Hands Massage offers a variety of different massage techniques and services, including but not limited to hot stone, sports, cupping, and prenatal massages. Looking for a day of relaxation? Healing Hands Massage offers outstanding packages at reasonable rates. Whether you're looking for relief from chronic pain and stiffness or just want to treat yourself to a day of relaxation, Healing Hands Massage is the place for you.
Are your basement walls bowing, crumbling, or failing? Hi, I'm Tony Hafford with TC Hafford Basement Systems, all things basementy. Our stable lock wall system offers a patented, affordable, and permanent solution to save your foundation walls. It stabilizes, fills voids, and structurally repairs, leaving a new smooth surface. All the strength of new walls. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems today for all things basementy.
So we've lived in this house coming up 23 years. We just bought the tractor, and I haven't any idea how we survived without it.
We're trying to rebuild the rock wall on this new property. She says, pick that rock up and put it here. No, it'll look better if you turn it this way. No, we're gonna need to move it over there 5 feet.
I would come to him and say, can you do this for me? And he'd kind of, do the, But now he has a tractor, he's much more motivated.
Experience United, your local John Deere dealer.
My name is Connie. The grandkids call me Mimo.
These are for you.
She loves gambling, bowling, and especially me.
Good to know.
You can say I have a few gentlemen callers.
Howdy, it's Ira.
We need to keep the sphere suspended precisely in the scintillator.
Speaking of scintillating.
Nope. I'm just playing the field. She made the team.
And Mimo got a date with the coach.
What? It was a productive afternoon. Young Sheldon.
Weekdays at 4 on Fox 22. Tonight's Sports is brought to you by Diversified Ink Tattoo Studio in Bangor, located in the Penobscot Plaza, providing custom ink by licensed artists for more than 20 years.
Welcome back in, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. We're going to start with some championship basketball. Down at the Expo, the Maine Celtics playing in their first ever G League championship, the best-of-3 series kicking off tonight in Portland. Celtics hosting Oklahoma City in Game 1 at the Expo. Over 2,400 on hand tonight, and the Celts came out sizzling. Jordan Walsh takes it coast to coast for 2 in the first quarter. Celtics out on top early. And then Neemias Queta, we'll see him with the Celtics in the playoffs. Look at that no-look dish from J.D. Davison. Queta spins and slams it home. Now it's Drew Peterson off the steal. He will slam it home himself, getting in on the action. Celtics up 33-14 after 1. Second quarter, the Blue trying to chip away here. Jaden Shackelford with a step-back 3. Nice move there in the half court, but the Celtics would keep the pedal to the metal. J.D. Davison to Kyler Kelly for the slam. Celtics blow out OKC in Game 1, winning 106-86. Game 2 Thursday night in Oklahoma City. Celtics just 1 win away from a G League championship.
You know, we all play our roles very well, and I happen to be the guy that, you know, had to go in a little bit early, and, you know, I'm thankful, you know, JD got me in those spots and stuff like that. So, you know, games like this, you know, we really take care of business. We're not overly celebrating. You know, we got one more to go, but exciting for us.
All right, big win for them. Let's go to the baseball diamond now. Finally feeling like baseball season around here. 2 straight days of it. Up in Orono, Maine baseball preparing for a road trip to UConn and UMass Lowell starting on Wednesday. The Black Bears splitting a doubleheader with NJIT this weekend after Game 1 was canceled. They are currently 3-5 in America East play, but 3 of those losses have come by just 1 run, including Game 2 on Sunday. Now, 3-5 for the start is a new territory for a lot of the guys on the team. They lost just 5 conference games last year alone and won their first 10 games, and then they started 8-2 the year before in America East play. So facing some adversity for the first time in a few years, and the message to the team is simple: just keep playing and those results will come.
Yeah, I don't think anyone on this team, except for maybe Goody, has been here where we haven't been, you know, the cream of the crop as far as record goes in the America East. And the message really is go out and play. We got to go out and play, you know, and that's something that I've had to relearn as well, you know, because I forgot what it was like to be, you know, have a losing record in conference play.
I think honestly it's just sticking to the process. It's a long season and we're just getting started in conference play, so I think that's the biggest thing, is just to continue to get better every day, continuing to encourage the guys that the conference is still open.
I had to tell the guys, look, we might not be starting out how we want to, but we're still a very good team, and we got to believe that. We can't let doubt creep into our clubhouse, you know. If we stick together as a team, we'll be fine.
The Black Bears will play at UConn on Wednesday, and then they open that 3-game series with UMass Lowell starting on Friday. Staying on the baseball diamond now, let's go over to Brewers. Spring season officially underway on Thursday, but at Hedrick Field on Tuesday afternoon, first pitch being thrown on the new turf. The ceremonial first pitch at the brand new Hedrick Field was a special one. The Brewer Witches hosting Bucksport in a preseason exhibition and holding the ceremony of what they called a soft open of the new complex. Before the game, for both teams, fans and more packing the hill as Brewer honored former mayor and a big supporter of Brewer athletics, the late Jerry Goss. Goss was instrumental helping revamp Hedrick Field. His son John threw out the ceremonial first pitch right there to Jerry's grandson Trent. An awesome moment for the Goss family.
To say that I was Jerry Goss's son is a privilege. And the one thing Dad always did, and prior to his passing, he really took a concerted effort to say how proud he was when he saw different efforts that people in general that were doing to try to help kids, help communities build a solid foundation. He wasn't able to see this physically today, but he's sitting up there right now with a ringside seat, watching down with a lot of pride.
Definitely an awesome ceremony, and if you weren't there, the field looks amazing. Let's stay on the diamond now. The Red Sox announcing Trevor Story will miss the 2024 season. He will undergo surgery on Friday. Moving on from that, though, it's always a magical day at Fenway Park during the Sox home opener. This one just a little bit different. The 113th opening day at Fenway saw the Red Sox paying homage to a former player in a special way. It was the 20-year anniversary of the amazing 2004 Red Sox season, so Boston taking the time pregame to honor the entire 04 team, including both Tim and Stacey Wakefield. Both passed away recently, their children Brianna and Trevor being there in Tim's place. Everyone in attendance from that 04 team there to walk them out. Brianna throwing out that first pitch to Jason Varitek in a moment everyone at the ballpark that day will remember, just as everyone will remember Tim and Stacey for the legacy they leave behind. Here's Varitek after the game on what that moment meant for him.
It was emotional. It was really emotional, and she held herself like a champ, and proud of the young lady that she is.
How about you? What was that emotion like for you given this moment?
I was going in and out of it throughout, ever since the moment of silence started back, I don't know, probably 30 minutes before that. So it was emotional. I mean, it doesn't matter how many times, it still holds a very strong emotion in my heart.
Probably one of the best things I saw all day. It's all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
I really love the welding program here. It's one of the few welding programs on the East Coast.
Bipolar 1, I got help to push back.
I got help to push back.
We got help to push back with Lybalvi.
Once daily prescription Lybalvi is proven to treat manic or mixed episodes of bipolar 1 in adults to help you push back. Elderly patients with dementia have increased risk of death or stroke. Do not take Lybalvi if you are taking opioids or are in opioid withdrawal. The samidorphan in Lybalvi can cause severe opioid withdrawal that can lead to hospitalization or increased risk of life-threatening overdose. Get emergency help if you have trouble breathing, become very drowsy with slowed or shallow breathing, feel faint, very dizzy or confused, or have a fever, stiff muscles, rash, swollen glands, or problems with your liver, kidneys, heart, or lungs. Other serious side effects may include high cholesterol, weight gain, potentially fatal high blood sugar, uncontrolled body movements which may be permanent, dizziness upon standing or falls.
Are you ready? Ask your doctor about Lybalvi. Looking for copay savings? Text copay to 45286.
If you've been injured in an accident, get Maine's most recognized personal injury law firm working for you today. The law offices of Joe Bornstein, fighting and winning for injured Mainers for nearly 50 years. Selected best lawyers in America for personal injury. Recognized for professional excellence. With more than $500 million collected for injured Mainers and over 25,000 victories for Maine families. Call Joe for a free case evaluation and get the Bornstein Advantage.
Higher shipping rates may be the cost of doing business, but at what cost?
Turn shipping to your advantage with low-cost ground shipping from the United States Postal Service.
When is my allergy spray gonna kick in?
You need Astapro.
Astapro?
It's faster, bro. 8 times faster than Flonase. It's faster, bro.
It's faster, bro!
It's faster, bro.
It's mom to you.
Astapro starts working in 30 minutes. Astapro and go.
I've learned a lot of stuff, structural welding, pipe welding. That's given me all the tools that I didn't have before.
Saturdays, baseball's best are showing out. The biggest games on the best day of the week. Fox Saturday Baseball, all season long.
A&G Shooting in Fairfield has a new employee, but it's not a human. Our Matthew Juronsik introduces us to the store's newest shop pet.
You may have been to some stores that have a dog or cat running around it, but at A&G Shooting, its shop pet is a unique one. A cow?
Mom had rejected him,
So he was shivering and cold and laying in some mud out in the woods, and we found him, and me and my wife, and we brought him in the house and warmed him up and kept him alive.
Hensby says after nursing a calf to health, he decided to treat him like a dog and bring him to work. Katie is a miniature zebu calf that's full of energy working at the store, checking product, enjoying snuggles from families, and taking part in his favorite pastimes, gnawing our tripod and Adam's beard.
A&G shooting owner Adam Hensby says Cade is quite the celebrity in town.
He's so adorable. Cows are my favorite animal too, so it's nice to have him here.
Like we're seeing animals in like shops or something, like not in a farm, and so it's like surprising because I half didn't believe it, but it was really fun.
Co-workers at A&G shooting say they enjoy working alongside Katie.
He brings in a lot of smiling faces and, you know, a lot of kids, and it gets the newer generation into stuff and kind of makes the gun shop aspect a little warmer.
Hensby says he plans on keeping Katie around the store as long as possible.
For the next few months, I would say he's going to be a staple here, and as long as I can fit him in the car, he'll go everywhere with me.
Hensby says Katie is open to pictures and cuddles whenever he's at the store. A&G shooting is open Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. In Fairfield, Matthew Juronsik, ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
Certainly not a typical pet, but a cute one to say the least. All right, well, finally tonight, at a certain age, we all begin daydreaming or even making plans for what we'll do in retirement, but not Foster Williams of Winterport. The 90-year-old preacher is still working each and every week, and as our Jody Hersey tells us, he has no plans of stepping away from the pulpit anytime soon.
What we're looking at in the Sermon on the Mount are our Lord's first instructions to his disciples.
A small congregation of 25 to 30 members gather at the Kenduskeag Union Church each Sunday to hear the insight and wisdom of 90-year-old Foster Williams, an ordained minister who loves to share the teachings of the Bible.
I said to God, I will go as strong as I can for as long as I can, wherever you want to use me.
Williams, who was born and raised in Aroostook County, has preached the gospel in Maine, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and California.
He's a great servant of the Lord. There's just no doubt about it.
Kenduskeag resident Lee Honorado has been a faithful member of the Kenduskeag Union Church, which she says almost closed 5 years ago when the numbers dwindled to 8. But all that changed, Honorado says, when Reverend Williams walked through the doors.
I've learned more in the last 4 or 5 years than my whole lifetime.
18-year-old Jacob Cousins is one of the youngest members of this church.
Just how he spoke, it was powerful to me. I could feel, not just hear the words, I could feel the words.
While Williams has earned the right to retire, he says he and his wife Mary Jane would much rather keep on serving the Lord and this community.
We understand the pull of full retirement, but for us, it's much nicer doing something like this than sitting home.
In Kenduskeag, I'm Jody Hersey for ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
So clearly he'd rather inspire than retire.
I like what you did there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of goes by the saying, you know, if you love what you do, you never really work a day in your life.
Well, he's evidence of that. Good night.
Good night, everyone.